Part 2. The moment I reached home, I, still drenched, received the text that Lindsay sent me by mistake. Lindsay. A hug from my darling smooths the fear brought by thunder. It was accompanied by a selfie of her sitting in Kevin's hug. Before I could take a closer look at this message, it was immediately withdrawn. The next second, I received Kevin's call when he tried his best to ask me in a calm voice, "Are you at home right now? Why did you refuse my money?" With the desire to change my clothes and take a hot shower, I replied casually, "Yeah, and I'm not short of money. Just keep it for yourself." Noticing he didn't mean to hang up at all, I added, "Anything else?" After a momentary hesitation, he asked, Did you see that picture just now?" I sneered softly. "Yeah." I heard his breathing going abnormally rapidly. He whispered his question, "Aren't you mad at me?" Being mad at Kevin now seemed ridiculous to me as I had gotten used to it. He had abandoned me for the sake of Lindsay countless times. Putting the phone on the table, I changed my wet clothes while replying to him. "Why should I have fun with her?" The person on the other end of the phone breathed a sigh of relief, and his tone became noticeably lighter. "I'm glad you're not angry. By the way, Lindsay's birthday is coming in a week. You two have known each other for so many years. She heard that your family used to make traditional handmade decorations for a living. So maybe you can make her one as a birthday present." My breath paused. My parents used to run an old traditional craft shop, and were even interviewed by the local TV. However, in my senior year of high school, they were killed in a car accident when purchasing raw materials. Orphaned, I hit rock bottom. After transferring to another school, the very person who warmed me and rescued me from the abyss of desperation was Kevin. Being moved by his attentive care for me, I agreed to date him, and he swore to me with tears in his eyes that he would treat me as well as my parents for the rest of his life. He knew exactly how anything related to craft would tear the scar off deep in my heart, but he still tore it off without hesitation anyway. Now, only 7 years had passed, and he demanded I use my family's traditional craftsmanship to make his childhood sweetheart happy. Feeling the pain of pinching my own palms, I tried my best to stay calm and said with a trembling voice, "I know. Tell her to send me a picture of the decoration she wants." After hanging up the phone, I let out a long breath, convincing myself to take all of this as the reciprocation of Kevin's help in the past. When this thing was over, I would owe him nothing. There were still a few days left on my wedding leave, so I went to the company to apply for my resignation, and gave the finished decoration to Kevin. I hadn't engaged in anything related to craft these years, and scrapped many models to finish a satisfying one. I attached several band-aids to the wounds on my hand, all of which were caused by accidental scratches during the making of Lindsay's birthday gift. Even though I knew it was for her, I didn't want to finish it perfunctorily. However, as I approached his office, I heard him comforting someone in a magnetic voice. "I married Katrina just because I felt sorry for her. She is an orphan and has been with me for so many years. What will others see me if I don't marry her? Lindsay, you're the only woman I love. I don't love Katrina at all. I just have to be responsible for her as a man." Instantly, all his shit about sympathy and responsibilities made me press my lips so hard that my vision kept going blurry. Despite all my preparation for accepting that he didn't love me, listening to that thing from him still ached my heart. 7 years of my devotion eventually ended up being a complete joke. After taking a few deep breaths, I gradually calmed down and decided to at least end this relationship decently. As I pushed the door open, Kevin saw me and pushed Lindsay away from his arms as if he had been electrocuted. He stood up and asked in panic, "Why are you here?" Taking out an exquisitely packaged box from my bag, I said calmly, "I'm here to deliver. You should have received my message an hour ago." Kevin was stunned and glanced at his phone, whose screen was down on the table. "Sorry, I didn't see it." As we were talking, Lindsay bounced towards me and took the box from my hand. She rudely tore open the box I had carefully packed, took out the 2 small decorations and chuckled. "Wow, Kevin, I didn't expect you to take my casual words into your heart and ask her to make it for me." After saying that, she separated the originally combined decoration very naturally and hung it on Kevin's belt. "Okay. Now our decorations are even a couple. Although it looks a bit ugly, I managed to appreciate the peculiar cuteness of it," she said. Hearing her comments on my work, I subconsciously glanced at the band-aids on my hand and directly looked into Lindsay's eyes. When making the decorations, I consulted a famous master of handmade crafts. He praised my finished work as an outstanding product that could be put on display for its prominent quality. Without a doubt, she degraded me on purpose. My sharp gaze gave Lindsay an excuse to cover her mouth artificially and hide behind Kevin, shivering in fear. She said, "Katrina, why are you staring at me like that? Are you still mad at the picture I sent you by mistake yesterday?" Since I had delivered the gift they demanded I make, I was reluctant to waste my time on these bitches anymore, and was about to take out the resignation application from my bag when Lindsay rudely interrupted my action. "It's all my fault for stealing your highlight at the wedding that day. But Kevin spent the whole day with me choosing that wedding dress. I just couldn't help trying it on at a real wedding," she said. I froze for a second in order to suppress the sickness coming up through my throat. So that was the case. Until the night before my wedding, I didn't have a wedding dress that only belonged to me. I remembered how humbly I begged Kevin to choose a wedding dress, and he always refused me with the excuse of being busy. It turned out that he was busy dating Lindsay. My hand holding the resignation application stopped, and I turned to look at Kevin with a bitter smile. "It seems that what I just heard outside your office is the word from the bottom of your heart, doesn't it?" Kevin was quite at a loss to reply, and I turned around to leave rather than wait for him to make up another lie. He hurriedly caught up with me and grabbed my wrist, explaining to me incoherently, "Katrina, that is not true. The day I came with her to try on those wedding dresses was because—" "Save it, Kevin," I interrupted him with a frown. "You don't have to explain to me. I don't care." Kevin still thought I said those out of compulsion and rage, but when looking into my eyes, he was stunned as the only thing in my eyes was indifference. He finally began to panic, tightening the grip on my hand and saying with red eyes, "Katrina, I know I have neglected your feelings these days. Give me some time, and I assure you that I'll make it up for you." However, I just looked at him coldly and said without mercy, "I said I don't give a damn about whoever you love. It has nothing to do with me." My words made him stare at me in great disbelief. His lips trembled as he still wanted to say something. Eventually, he found himself speechless. I tried hard but couldn't free my hands from his grip. As we were in the stalemate, all the lights in the company suddenly went out. Fire alarms rang throughout the floors, and people rushed out of the building screaming. The sudden accident made him release his hands, and when I looked up again, he had disappeared. I followed the crowd and ran towards the escape passage but was knocked to the ground by Kevin, who carried Lindsay in his arms. He looked too nervous to notice me. After shoving me, he rushed into the escape passage with her and locked the door without hesitation, leaving me in the dark office building alone. As the warning lights kept flashing, my heart sank. I encountered the same situation once a few years ago. At that time, I was 6 months pregnant and was locked by chance in the office. As the office was gradually filled with thick smoke, I could only call Kevin for help. After failing to get through a dozen times, he finally answered my call and shouted at me through the phone, "Don't you have anything else to do? Stop pissing me." When I called him again, he blocked my number. I fainted in the fire, managing to save my life for the sake of the firefighters who came to the rescue in time. The baby in my fetus, however, was aborted due to suffocation. Losing my baby stranded me in endless pain as I wept every day. Yet he scolded me for being too sentimental. Later, I found out that he was shopping with Lindsay when I was trapped in the fire. No matter how many times such emergencies happened, he would abandon me without blinking his eyes. That was so ridiculous. Fortunately, the alarm button was accidentally pressed, and I slowly got up from the ground, found the company seal in Kevin's office, and stamped my resignation application with it. Also on that night, I hired a moving company to move all my belongings away. Before heading to the airport, I left the divorce agreement on the table. However, after I boarded and turned my phone to airplane mode, Kevin started sending me countless messages like crazy,